Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It is Friday, July 18th, 4:30 p.m. Markets are closed, and it's payday. Usually it's everybody's regular payday, and then if you are in any of these funds, or all of them, it's your payday too. So this is the video covering Roundhill's 0 DTE funds. There's 3 of them. One covering the NASDAQ 100, that's QDTE. The next, XDTE for the S&P 500, and the last one is the RDTE for the Russell 2000. As always, just a quick reminder, I'm on X. I let you know when the videos are coming out, and I also put it up early morning post showing you what trades, intraday trades were made for each fund, just in case you want to trade along, or if you're just wanting to keep track and see how your investment is doing. All right. Sometimes I have to wait a little longer for things to settle, but based off of where the trades were made, nothing's even close, so I'm able to go ahead. We sold calls out of the money, and each of the 3 indexes were down or flat, so I can get this out sooner, get you your guesstimate on what we think you're going to get paid next week out there, and you can move on with your weekend. So as I said, all 3 indexes, NASDAQ 100, S&P 500, and the Russell 2000, all in the red. NASDAQ was down 0.07%, where QDTE lost a little less, 0.03. SPX, the S&P, was down 0.01%, basically flat, and XDTE actually went up some. And then the Russell 2000 down 0.61%, and RDTE down less than that, 0.38%. So the funds outperformed the indexes in all 3 cases there. We'll start by looking at the trades, and then we'll talk about the holdings. So since it's Friday, we do a little more than talk about the individual trade. We'll look at all of them throughout the week. But we'll start with today's QDTE. They sold a 23,200 call on the NDX, and it closed at 23,065, nowhere near that 23,200. So we don't have to wait for the little dollars and cents to settle out. Doesn't cost anything to close out, so we get to keep the full 382,000. Our week was ruined by yesterday's, where we had to pay $91 to close one out. So obviously not recovering from that one. Our total for the week, we lost 736,000. So to lose $2.5 million on one day, and then only lose 700,000 for the week, it's not horrible. They did well on 3 days. I think they got a little gun shy, because if you notice, right, they were selling and collecting 800,000, 600,000, 800,000. Then they got smoked, and they sold one a little safer and only collected 380,000. So there was never a thought of trying to win the week. This was just try to make a little bit of something. So if we divide that out by the 22,540,000 shares, that would come out to a negative 3 cents per share. Nobody's going to get a bill in the mail from QDTE, so we won't be able to use our. Now, how in the world did I? Oh, okay. I'll explain that in a second. We won't be able to use that for the following weeks. So the reason I show my guesstimate, my income guesstimate, having roughly 14 cents, is if you remember from other videos, or if you've heard looking into it, these are on call it a 2-week delay. Basically, we're not, when they announce next week, it won't be for the money we made this week. It'll be for the money made the previous week. So in the previous week, they made almost 14 cents a share, but they've been paying a lot more than that lately. So we don't think we're going to go off of the income. Next is I went to the website and averaged out the last month's distributions right there, and just give you an average, and that actually ends up being pretty close. It was pretty close last week. That would be roughly 23.7 cents. We just got 23.8 cents this morning. And then, so my guess, I take a couple other factors into it, right? I look at how much they made, what the average is, annual yield percentage. I take a look at how the fund itself performed over the week, and then I take a look at where the fund was back when they declared, this past week's payment, so 2 weeks ago. So I just take a lot into it, move it up a little, move it down a little, and just come up with a guess. So about 23.75 cents is my guess for QDTE this coming Wednesday, the 23rd. All right. If we take a look, so generally the NAV and the fund trade pretty close. So when we get this variance, I have a feeling that we're going to find out. They don't update. If you watch my Yield Max videos, they literally daily update you on the shares. It seems like these guys update weekly. So I think next week we're going to see a small increase in outstanding shares when we download everything on Monday, so if we increase the shares, that would mean we are increasing the denominator, which would bring no. I'm saying it backwards, aren't I? Yes. Increasing the denominator would shrink the NAV, which would make it more in line with the price. Not by a lot, though. So sorry, I second guessed myself in that one. So I think there's a little bit of an increase in outstanding shares. Either way, not a big deal. As far as our holdings, everything remained the same with the exception of this September 18th of 2026. We have a 2250 call. These are long calls. These are ones that are purchased. They're also flex options. That's why they've got those very weird strike prices. These aren't necessarily ones you and I could purchase. But we used to have 3 shares of this, and now today we have 11 shares of it. Again, I download the trades and they don't show anything about this. So they make trades that they don't show us on their trade download. You just only pick them up by noticing differences in the numbers. So we have 8 more of those. And that would make sense, right? So if we picked up more shares, that would have given them more money to work with. They put that more money to work by buying more calls, which will allow them to sell more. So that leads into corroborating my guess over there. All right, so it's an $823 million fund. It's approaching $1 billion. We might get there fairly soon, but I am in QDTE. If you haven't heard me mention, I am in QDTE and XDTE. I'm not in RDTE, but I might add it just for the sake of it, just so I can say I'm in all 3. Okay, so that's it. We're guessing payment's going to be basically in line with what we're used to, what we just got. XDTE, same thing. We take a look at their trade for today. It was a 63.25 on the S&P. It closed under 6,300, so we're not worried about waiting for the little final adjustments. Nothing to close it out. Got to keep the whole 200,000. Unfortunately, again, Thursday was a big loss over here. So that makes our total for the week a profit of 37,000. Well, when we spread 37,000 across 9.2 million shares, it doesn't amount to much. 0.4 of a cent for all of us. But that would be, so these that we're coming up with at the end of this week, they're not for next week's declaration. They would be for the one after that. Okay. So from the previous week, XDTE profited about 14.5 cents per share. That's why I've got that as the income guesstimate. The average across the last month comes out to 25.6721 cents, very close to what we got last week. And then I just did my guess based on the average, the income, the change in the fund price. I take a look at the IV, see how much things are changing. Really close. I'm putting it just under last week's. So we shall see. All right, there were no changes in holdings for XDTE. The NAV and the fund are within a few cents, so I don't think we got an outstanding share change. It's a $405 million fund, call it. That's how much assets are under management. And that's it for that one. Okay, last one, RDTE. This one, basically all 3 of them had a very similar week. Thursday kind of ruined it, but Monday was just as bad for RDTE. So the Russell 2000 had a big day on Monday. But today, they sold calls this morning for 2270. It was around 2240. So again, this number may not be dead on with what you're looking at. Let's see, 2240.01. I mean, it hasn't changed there. But even if it fluctuates a couple cents, a couple dollars, it's not going to fluctuate $30. So nothing to close it out. Got to keep the full 287,000. It resulted in a $341,000 profit for the week. So by far did the best, but at the same time, once you divide that among the over 4 million shares, that comes out to like 8 cents a share. So we're not going to be getting 8 cents a share. But again, that's 2 weeks from now. So as we look at the income from last week, this one's the closest one. These guys made almost 22 cents a share. So they made a good bit of what they've been paying out. So that's good to know. The average over the last month was 26.5 cents, right in line with what they just paid us last week. So my guess, very close to that, very close. I basically kind of squeezed in between them. I think it's going to be right along just about the same as your last payment. There's only 141 million in this fund. These guys had a change in the holdings. We added a September of 2026 call, 225.17, 6 of them, 6 contracts. That's why I got that +6 there. And similarly, right, we've got a pretty big gap between the NAV and the fund's price, and that generally doesn't happen. But if we go to the page, these guys just don't update things as quickly as Yield Max. So that still says 4,050,000. So that's what we have. But you know, I don't know. Let's see, 4,200,000. That's too much. Let's go back. Let's go 4,075,000. Okay, we won't keep playing with this. So it's probably maybe like 50,000 or so. Change. Let me change that back so I don't screw it up. Oh boy. And again, so that makes sense. It looks like more money came in. They put it to work. So more money coming in means more shares. More shares that you divide your money by equals a lower NAV. So guessing next week when we open up, we will see an increase in outstanding shares. I think I already said it, 141 million over here. Enjoy your 26.5 cents that you just got today. You guys got it on drip, or you decide what to buy or when to buy it. Like I said, I don't have RDTE. I have QDTE and XDTE. They're both in my 401k, so everything in my 401k is set on drip, so it's kind of a set it and forget it. I bought these at higher prices, though. I bought QDTE just under 40 and XDTE just under 50, so I am down capital-wise, but I have received enough payments that my cost average is actually below these fund prices, so it looks like I'm in the money. So total return-wise, I'm still doing okay. But okay, that's it. Don't want to take this any longer than it has to be. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.